One evening, our daughter was praying and just asked God, please help my dad not have to work so much so I could see him more.
Welcome to the Steward Lab podcast with our parents, James and Amberlee Rich. Join mom and dad as they explore how to be good stewards with your time, money, relationships, health, careers, and even your kids, like us. It's all about growing God's kingdom. Come on, let's experiment.
8 years ago, Amberlee and I had a dream session in a hot tub. We've talked about this in the past, but this dream session is something that has really radically changed the way that we are able to live our life now. We architected the life that we wanted based on this conversation that we had in this hot tub. And today we're going to be talking about why and how we paid off our house, what that freed us up to do, and whether or not that should be something that you do as well.
Yeah. So when we're in that hot tub, I think a lot of times we just are living in a day-to-day mode. We were kind of living in survival mode before that.
We were.
And we just felt like we were just pressing repeat on our lives. And we needed to take a step back and just dream without having any limitations. We prayed, we asked God, like, if we didn't have any financial limitations, if we didn't have any health restrictions, if we didn't have any time restraints, what would we want our life to look like? What do we really want to craft our family to look like? At that point, our son was just turning 1. So like we had a very young family, and we just wanted to not be living day by day.
Yeah. So from that conversation, within 2 years, we were able to pay off our house. Some of the other things that we talked about outside of just paying off our house in that conversation, in that hot tub, we wanted to be able to do regular missions trips with our kids. For a while, I was starting to feel disappointed that it's been 8 years since that dream session that we had, and we haven't even gone on one missions trip with our kids. And then as we were discussing it, we realized they just look different, especially at the age that we have of our kids. The missions trips have looked different. We just haven't assigned the meaning of it. Oh, that is actually a missions trip. So for the last 4 years, we've been able to serve at multiple church camps each year as a family. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until this year that we realized that right now is our mission field. Taking our young kids to Ethiopia or Mexico or something like that at their age probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but being able to craft a missions trip that makes sense for us as a family has been really cool. Along with that, not only once a year or twice a year going out and doing stuff as a family, because we've been able to pay off our house, it has opened up the ability for you and the kids every single week to go to our church pantry and serve there. It's been such a cool thing to see our kids be able to get a heart for those who are in need.
I just love that it's becoming more and more of, like, this is what our family does. We serve others, and we're not just going to live out our faith once a year or when we go on a missions trip, but it's becoming more of a lifestyle. And I think that is more important than just going on one mission trip.
During that conversation in the hot tub, we came up with the idea that we wanted to pay off our house. But I think it's important for us to discuss why paying off the house was part of that plan.
Mm-hmm. Really paying off our house was one of the puzzle pieces to free us up to be able to say yes to more things that God is calling us to do. And it just gave us more margin in our expenses. And it also felt like just a weight was lifted. Like if we have no house payment, we have no debt of any kind, that would just accelerate whatever we're wanting to do moving forward. And it would give us so much more freedom and less stress.
So being able to pay off the house did a lot of things for us. We were able to have lower expenses. Those lower expenses allowed us to start our own business together. It allowed us to quit the job that was taking me away from the family. One evening, our daughter was praying and just asked God, please help my dad not have to work so much so I could see him more. And at that point, we had our house paid off for a year, maybe 2 years. We were just building up savings so that we could start our own business. It was at that moment when our daughter prayed that prayer that I realized it is time for us to step into what we had been dreaming up. We had already had our house paid off. We had saved up at that point a year's worth of expenses. And so we were ready to take the leap I quit my job and we started working together and building a business together. And we could have never done that had we not paid off our house.
Since paying off our house, we have been able to live a different lifestyle
Completely different.
than most people get to live. We've been able to really call the shots and say yes to things like we lived on a ranch for a couple of months last year in Missouri. And it was an opportunity to help a family in need and be able to experience a completely different life. And we were able to do that because of the lifestyle that we have and that we were financially in a place where we could say yes and do that and meet that need. It has given us the ability to do so much more than we ever thought or imagined. In the process of paying off the house, it was so fun to do it together. We were working together in a way that we hadn't worked together ever before.
It's like when you go on those big, long hiking trips with your friends and you go up this mountain and you're doing it together. It's a lot of hard work going up there. But when you're doing it with somebody that you love and you enjoy being with, and you're doing it in a fun way, that work doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun. Then when we got to the top of the mountain and we looked out and we saw that all that we have accomplished together, it was just so amazing to be able to sit back and look and see what we had accomplished and what we were able to accomplish, something that I would have never guessed at the age we were when we paid off our house that we would have been able to do that. That tells you a couple of things. The power of working together as a team, the power of bringing community. We didn't do this alone. We started the Debt Dump Challenge. We invited people to come take a dump with us, a debt dump that is. And we worked together and we would not have been able to do what we did without us doing it together, us being on the same page, us having a community of people to do this with and make it more fun. But also, I truly believe there would have been no way we could have done this had we not had God leading the charge. I do believe that He placed that desire in our heart so that He could give us that desire of our heart. And had we tried doing this on our own, we would have failed miserably.
There was a lot of God math in our pursuit of paying off our house. We could not have done it on our own. It boosted my faith, recognizing that He provided in ways that didn't make sense.
That kind of brings us to the thought, like, should everybody pay off their house?
I think that's a great question. I think an ideal world is everyone would have a paid off house by the time they retire. I think that is a definite goal that I think is really beneficial. It really reduces your retirement costs and frees people up to actually retire.
Yeah. I don't think the goal that we had to pay off our house by the time that we did is for everybody, simply because God has different paths for each and every one of us. I do think we need to be praying and asking God, when it comes to our finances, what do you want us to focus on? And we do believe that God wanted us to focus on paying off our house to free us up to be able to do the things that we've been able to do. So what is it in your life that God has for you in the future? It may be that paying off your house is one of those things. And it might be that, no, just continue moving forward. Here's the reality. When you look at math, you talked about God math before. When we looked and we actually did the math, it did not make financial sense for us to pay off our house. We had a very low interest rate. It was a 3.625% interest rate, which is unheard of nowadays. And had we taken that same money that we were putting extra on the house, I mean, remember, we were living off of 25% of our income. So the rest of that, if we had put that in stocks and bonds or some sort of investment, I can guarantee you we would have made more than 3%, more than 4% over the last few years. So the math didn't make sense. But when it comes to making decisions, it's not always, and this is coming from a financial coach, when it comes to financial decisions, it's not always a math issue.
Yeah.
You always want to look at the math. But sometimes the math will tell you to do one thing, but it makes more sense to do the other. And in this case, we knew that God wanted us to pay off our house. And just having that freedom was worth more to us than the amount of growth we would have received on that money, how we put it away. Is paying off your house for everybody at the rate that we did it? I would say no. I think what we have to do is we have to look at, what are your goals? What do you want to do? Is your goal that you want to retire by a certain amount of time? Maybe your big goal is to increase your retirement by X% over the year. Maybe that's the more important thing to do.
Mm.
Like Amberlee said earlier, when we're working with our clients, we want to find as best as we can a way to have the house paid off by the time that somebody retires. That just frees you up. But maybe it doesn't make sense to make extra payments at this point.
That's really good. One thing with higher interest rates on homes now, if you do have a higher interest rate, there is an added incentive to pay it off or pay down some to just lower that a little bit. Also, if you have PMI insurance, trying to pay extra on that to lower that so you hit the threshold so you don't have to pay the PMI insurance, which oftentimes is about a 1% of what your house payment is, and so that really does make a big difference. And so there are some things to look at with that, but I think overall, paying attention to what really is important to you. And for us, we didn't think originally that paying off our house in a year even made any sense, or even at that hot tub session, we didn't think that that was something that was really high priorities for us. But God really just highlighted that over and over for us, and he just made a way. And so I think when we are asking God what he is wanting us to do, he will highlight what you need to be focusing on, and he will give you the strength to do it. And it is exciting to be part of that process.
Yeah. And we wanted to share this story, not to pat ourselves on the back and say, hey, look at us that we've paid this off, because really this was not as much of what we did, but what God did through us. And we want you to begin partnering with God on your goals. God, what do you have for us? What do you want us to work towards? And go in that direction. We want this to inspire you that there are some big, lofty goals that maybe you think are unattainable. But believe me, with the right partner, you could do this. And in that case, I wasn't talking about you necessarily as my partner. I was talking about God being our partner in the life that we live. Not him partnering with us, but us partnering with him in what he has for us. And so every week that we have a Steward Lab podcast episode, we have experiments. So we do have an experiment for you, and it's based on what we've talked about today. So Amberlee, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners what the experiment is today?
Sit back and dream about the ideal life you want to have. And if you are married, do this with your spouse. This is a great time to do it when you're free of distractions. Like in a hot tub, there's nothing around you to really distract, like maybe be in front of a fire or someplace where you can just really spend quality time together and dream up what that life looks like, and then reverse engineer what you need to do to get there. And that's what we did, is we just started dreaming up all these things, and then we realized we're not anywhere close to actually living this out. What do we need to do today to get us to the point where we can actually live into this dream?
Take some time, dream up what you want your future to look like if nothing was holding you back, reverse engineer, and then think, what is one thing I can do this week that will get me closer to that dream?
If you're on YouTube, comment below and share with us what your dream is. Saying it out loud is powerful because it makes it real, and it helps you to actually take action on it and not just think about it and forget about it and continue living your life.
If you're on one of the other podcast platforms, be sure to rate, review, follow, all the things. Click the bell icon if you're on YouTube. We'd love to have a two-way conversation. So in any of those platforms, if there's an opportunity for you to write us, please do. We do watch that, and we'd love to respond. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to catching you next week.
We'll see you then.